Is anger negatively impacting your life? Is it getting in the way of your joy, your peace? Is it impacting your personality? I recently realized this was happening in my life and that anger was bringing in a lot of negative energy and taking up way too much space in my head and in my heart. And it was affecting the type of person I was becoming, and I didn't like it. And I'm in recovery, so any anger or resentment that I walk around carrying puts my sobriety at risk, so I had to come up with a way to deal with this. So I came up with a thought process, a series of questions and statements that I go through when I start to feel angry so that I can deal with it in a healthier and more sustainable way and free myself from the negative hold that it had on me. So number one, well, first of all, I'm going to go through these 5 points in a high level, and then I'll cover them in more detail a little bit later in the video. Number one, I tell myself I don't respond in anger. Number two, I remind myself that anger is an emotion. It is a chemical reaction that is taking place in my body, so I give it some time to just process. Number three, I ask myself, what's the end goal of the situation right now? 4, I remember that emotions are temporary, but behavior is permanent. How do I want to feel about how I acted in this situation a few moments from now, later on today, tomorrow, and so on? And finally, if I don't know how to respond right then in that situation, I remove myself. I give myself some space, physically if possible, private if possible, to just take a pause. Now, obviously, in the heat of the moment, I can't deliberately always walk through all of those questions in my mind, so I've also found a way to make this more second nature that I'm going to share with you. This approach isn't a science, it's what I found that works for me, so if any of it works for you, use it and adapt it so that it works even better. Adjust the terminology, take some, leave some, etc. And practice matters. This does take time to sink in, but the more I do it, the better I get at it and the better I feel. So I want to share it with anybody who also may have anger having a negative impact in your life, that you may be struggling with this and you want some freedom from it. I'm Molly MC, and the reason I'm sharing this with you now is because I recently started a venture called Freedom Through Truth, where my goal is to share life lessons learned, especially on how to make change in our life, and especially difficult change, and the freedom that comes in doing so. I'm going to do a few videos on the topic of anger, so subscribe to be notified. Today I'm going to focus on going into a little bit more detail on this initial thought process, how to make it second nature, and how to check our egos in the process. I do reference my notes in my videos because I can't keep all this information in my head, and I want to make sure that I cover the most important points with you. So let's go through that thought process in a little bit more detail. First, I don't want to respond in anger. I want to respond based on what the situation needs, and that's why I ask myself, what's the end goal right now? I want to respond based on facts, not emotions. And the more I say this, that I don't respond in anger, the more it becomes like an affirmation and part of who I am and more natural to my behavior. It also helps me a lot with number 2 in this process to remember that emotions are chemicals in the body, or they're results of chemical reactions. And that anger is just a feeling that I can let pass as it works itself through me. So I recognize it for what it is, and then I can more easily get back to just the facts of the matter. Author Brianna Weiss says that emotions are temporary and behavior is permanent. So I also think about, how do I want to feel about my actions later? How do I want to feel about my actions after the situation occurs? And in recovery, we say we play the tape through when it comes to thinking about taking a drink or a drug. So now I do that with anger too. What happens if I act on my anger? What does the situation look like? And am I happy with it? Is that what I want? Usually it's not. So think through what acting on your anger is going to get you, how it might do harm either way, which harm is worse. Think about what the end goal is, and then think about what your motivations are. And again, we'll cover the motivations aspect in a little bit later in the video. And then lastly, I give myself space physically if I need to in order to process the situation. I would much rather regret not saying something than saying something that I wish I hadn't. So I just remove myself from the situation if I can. And I do something physical to release that high energy that's in me. I literally shake it off if I can, do some jumping jacks. Then also I talk myself down. Remind yourself that this will pass and it's not too much for you to handle. And that you don't need to give it so much power or space in your mind. Then also try engaging the other senses. Use a scented soap or eat or drink something flavorful. And I'm going to give you more options in a different video on how to really process your anger, especially in a physical way. And some of these can actually turn it a little bit fun for me, and they really then affect my mood. Now, it does take some time for this to become second nature. The first time that you get angry after we talk about this, you're going to forget everything. It's all going to fly out the window as soon as that emotion is triggered. Don't worry, that's going to be normal for a little while. Afterwards, take some time to reflect on it and remind your brain and body that when you get angry, this is what you want to think about and this is how you respond. And over time, you're going to start to remember more and more because you are teaching your brain and body how you want to react when those emotions are triggered. In this process, about a few months ago, I was journaling about this, and not even 10 minutes later, I have someone raise their voice at me, and right away, knee-jerk reaction, I raise my voice right back. I say something irrational. I don't even remember what I said. And that was 10 minutes after I just thought that that's not how I want to handle these situations. But now it's months later, and this is coming to me naturally. I have a story I'm going to share in a few minutes that shows how my body and brain are doing this automatically now. And it may sound a little woo-woo, but it's almost like my cells are remembering. It's like it's muscle memory. And that's how new neural pathways are laid, right? And what's interesting to me is that this is also like the type of training that I do for physical activities. So like dance or golf or strength training. There's so much that I need to recall and so many little movements that I need to be able to think about. But in real time, I can't possibly have all of those in my mind. But the more I break it down and practice it and complete the actions in real time and build on that muscle memory, the more it gets ingrained into my brain and body's memory. Now, my anger has also had me exploring my ego quite a bit. So I ask myself questions like, why do I want to win this fight? Why do I want to be right? Why do I want to get the upper hand? Is it pride that I just want others to know that I'm right? Versus why can't I just let it go? Or why can't I say my piece and be done with it, even if the other person wants to continue engaging? So getting to the facts and being really honest about my motives helped me get past the ego. And this doesn't mean that I let other people walk all over me. This is for me. This is for me to feel better in the moment and in the long run about my actions. It's for my peace. So when it comes to the ego, here's the questions that I ask myself. Does this require a response? Does a response get us closer to the end goal? Then I think about, what are the other person's motives? Are they just trying to get a rise out of me? Are they purposely trying to be hurtful? Are they purposely trying to distract or confuse the situation because they don't actually want to get to an end goal? They don't actually want to reach a solution. So once I can understand where they're coming from a little bit more, it helps me understand whether or not a response is required or even useful. And maybe I do just need to ignore the other person or their comments or whatever it is that they're trying to get out of the situation, especially if they don't want to come to a mutual solution. Maybe I do just need to walk away from the disagreement. Now, I'm certainly not advocating for walking away or ignoring a situation as a way to deal with anger. That's only if the answers to the questions that I've shared with you lead me to determine that that's the best solution. walking away definitely isn't always the right response. There are plenty of times where we need to speak up for ourselves or for others or for the truth. And sometimes we only have a few split seconds to make that decision. I had one of these situations recently where I knew I just had to stick up for somebody and for the truth and for the right way to handle a situation. And that's where I realized that all those thoughts were automatically coming to me versus me having to deliberately recall and ponder and decide on each. That my brain was now doing it on its own because of the practice, you could even say the training that I had done. So I had to take a quick beat to consider what the options were and how I would feel no matter how I handled the situation. I had to breathe a lot. I stuck to the facts and I presented a neutral solution. And I am so glad I did it. I was triggered. I was angry. My ego was definitely involved. My heart was about to beat out of my chest. But I used those 5 points and steps without even realizing it. And now I have no regrets about that situation. I just have gratitude and even a little bit of healthy pride. Now, one of the places that I still need to get some more expert help is that physiological response. So if people have anything that they do to address when the heart's beating out of the chest, we start to sweat a little bit, I even get a little shaky, you can hear it in my voice and my stomach starts to churn. So I do want better tools to deal with that, especially in the moment. So please share in the comments if you have some of those. And as I learn them, I will also share them with you. So I hope this content was helpful, and I would love to hear from you in the comments. I will do another video on the topic of anger, and in that one I'm going to cover 4 areas. One will be the more trivial day-to-day stuff that causes us a lot of frustration and over time can even drive us a bit crazy. The second one will be the more impactful harm that's been done to us, that's caused us pain or angst that requires a bit more attention to be dealt with. 3, I want to talk about how to deal with and address the root causes of our anger. And finally, I want to talk about other healthy ways to process and express our anger so that we don't suppress it, but that we get it out of our system to make room for more pleasant and fulfilling emotions. So subscribe to be notified when that's released, and I will see you in the next one.